This is actually quite an interesting concept that I wanted to explain to you because it's been struggling me as well, and it ties into the previous video I did about overcoming imposter syndrome. So, as you can see, I'm wearing a hat with an obnoxious flower. Don't ask me how I got it. My wife gave it to me, and I added the flower. I was the flower person. It was just the hat. And why do I name it obnoxious? Because for me, it's big, and it is the biggest flower I now have. I have other flowers to put in there, but that doesn't change the fact that when I went to Mexico, that was the smallest flower. I was definitely the smallest flower in the room. How does this all tie up to being imposter syndrome? So let me tell you a story about the person I met there. A very interesting guy called Robert. His nickname was also Ferrari Robert. Three guesses. What is the favorite car of Ferrari Robert? And now insert this little. What's the name of this Pokemon? Well, obviously. And Robert explained to me as he was undergoing a little bit of a spiritual evolvement as we were in Mexico. He was there already longer, but we just met there. And he now started to dress a little bit more on his own, a little bit more bohemian. So it was still very sophisticated. You could see he knew his colors, he knew what he was doing, and he knew what fit him well. So he definitely was a well dressed person, but wasn't in the typical well dressed, like, suit and tie and pants type of dress or get up. And one of the elements he had was a hat, which in those areas is, you don't have a hat, you're not cool enough. Sorry. I didn't know. I just brought my hat for the sun. But he explained that the first time that he put on his hat, he was so scared. People were looking at him, or at least he had the idea that everybody was looking at him. And it felt so weird. And the fun thing is, and that's why I'm adding that into this equation, is the first time my partner gave this hat to me, I had exactly the same feeling. I had the idea that almost every single person was looking at me. They were commenting under their voice towards me. They were looking at my flower or my feather or whatever. They were actively debating around me what I was wearing. In most cases, nobody gives a flying F, but that doesn't matter because inside your head, and Robert acknowledged it, inside your head, that fearfulness is there. That point of not knowing what other people are thinking or talking about you, or are you okay? Being the only person in the room wearing a hat, or are you okay? Looking a little bit extravagant or bohemian or weird or standoutish, where for the majority of people, they love it. And he explained throughout his evolvement into a little bit more bohemian dressed man that the more he opened up, the more confident he felt with what he was wearing, but it also became much more interesting for him to be who we are. But he said also, people might have had an opinion about me, but he said rarely anyone came up to him and said to him anything bad. The people that came up to him and congratulated him on his style or mentioned it, that he was well dressed, were all people very interested in who they are, and were people that were valid people within his circle. And that is so standoffish towards what we think. We've been educated, and most of us have had similar information in our mind where we want to not really stand out. We don't really want to look too flamboyant. We don't really want to we want to stand out, but at the same time we need to blend in a little bit, because otherwise if we stand out too much, people are going to see us and judge us. And that all comes and ties into the imposter syndrome, where we want to be as uniform and bland as everyone else, because that means that there's nothing that they can pick on us for. They cannot tell us, yeah, but you know what? Your face and your glasses and your sexual preferences and your religious preferences and this and that, I don't like this shit. So I don't like you as a person. And we think that that is very similar to our clothing, hairstyle, whatever. And that's where you, as a human, unique, beautiful person, need to look at what makes you happy in terms of what you dress. Obviously, you know, be mindful of the situation you're going to and respectful for the situation and areas you might go to. You know, don't go walking around in a thong pants in some kind of religious setting, but feel free to be who you are and try to test out new things and learn to overcome that barrier of of anxiety, and understand that every single one of us had to overcome that. I had it when I had my glasses, I had it when I had the hat, I have some obnoxious shoes, I have some things where I was like, can I wear this outside? Or and the more you wear it, the less you're going to give a damn. And the more important is, you need to cultivate that mindset of, too many people are too busy with their own things. They're rarely going to judge you. They're rarely going to make remarks at you. If they do, like if your best friend tells a remark at you, yeah, maybe you should listen. And maybe it's for the better of everyone that you would do something else. But for the majority of people that you don't know and that would scream or randomly scream at you on the internet, don't. Just don't change your life according to them. Make sure that you and your heart feel where you are, and that you be happy from the decisions that you make. If that is wearing flowers on your head, driving obnoxious cars, wearing weird clothes, or doing things, as long as you don't hurt anyone else with it, be who you are, because that authentic, beautiful self is going to help other people understand that they can and are allowed to be their own authentic, beautiful self. That was it for today. For those who haven't done any overcoming their own imposter syndromes, please do. Do something that scares you today, because it will help you. Believe me.